Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, so good afternoon to those of you who've just joined us. Welcome to today's webinar by Greytech. And today's webinar is titled Structural Design Workflow with Revit. So my name is Jamil Dida, and I'll be presenting this webinar for you today. Throughout the webinar, I also have a series of polls planned. So I will be activating these polls throughout the webinar today. So if you could please make sure you put in answers for those. Okay, so a little bit about myself. So once again, I'm Jamil Dida, and I'm one of the application engineers here at Greytech. And I'm responsible for providing you guys with the latest contents in the form of webinars, tutorials, tips and tricks. So aside that, I also get involved in training around our products and also making sure that all of our partners and customers have the technical support they need in order to move forward with their projects. So before joining Greytech, I have worked as a structural engineer for a number of years in the industry, and I've designed a variety of structures in my time, in many sectors, to name a few. Residential, one of my favorite sectors, but I've also worked on educational and retail projects as well. So I've uploaded a copy of this handout to the session, and there are interactive links on this handout where you can reach me on my email address. It's jamil.dida@greytech.com, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So you've got these hyperlinks attached to this handout. So make sure you connect with me on either LinkedIn or send me an email if you have any questions. Right, so we always get asked the question whether this webinar is recorded. If I missed it or I didn't quite see all of it, will I be able to catch up with it again sometime? So you're in luck here. Basically, we have a Greytech Content Center where this webinar will be uploaded. And also in this center, feel free to head over to the Greytech Content Center, where you'll find several materials in there, to include some tips and tricks. Some of our experts share with you their best practices for working on your projects, and more importantly, the industry workflows. So whether that's workflows for the AEC industry, manufacturing, or even structures, you'll have a wealth of materials there to access. As always, please allow up to 10 working days or 2 weeks for this webinar to be uploaded to our content center. Okay, so time now for a little bit of an overview of what I have planned today for everybody. To start with, I'm going to be looking at the import and export process between Revit and then structural design using our flagship simulated product advanced design. We'll then move on to synchronizing these models with any changes that we have, and you'll see just how easy this process is. This whole workflow really should be simple. So I'll show you just how easy that workflow is. We also have a series of analytical tools which I would like to take you guys through. If you have any errors in the models, I will be going through those. And then at the end, I have a bonus plan for you guys. So I'm feeling in a good mood today, so I decided to throw a bonus in. So make sure you stay tuned until right at the end, where I will share that bonus with you. Okay, so before I actually launch into this, go into this workflow, I'm just going to launch a couple of questions by a poll here. So if you could please answer using one of the options, you'll see the poll appear on your screen any moment now. Okay, so the poll's in progress. So please answer. So the first question is, do you guys use Revit for any of your projects? So that could be any type of projects, whether that's Revit just for viewing models, maybe it's Revit for actually doing a bit of modeling, or perhaps just generally modeling in general. Okay, so just waiting on a few more votes to come through there. Just a couple of you left. Okay, interesting. That one's gone just as I thought it would. So the majority of you use Revit, so that's definitely a good sign. We're off to a good start then. The next question is, if I go on to the next question. So which part, you should see on the second, which part of the structural workflow do you find most challenging? So that could be exchanging models between Revit and the FEM solution. It could be managing or updating any changes. Sometimes we make changes to the model. We need to manage those efficiently, because that could be an issue for some of you. And also, if there's any errors in the models, if there's errors in the models, then that disrupts that process somewhat. So that could be one of those. Or for some of you, this workflow may be completely new. In that case, it might be all of the above that you are yet to come across. So it could be challenging in that sense. Okay, so I'll just allow a couple more seconds for this poll, and then I'll move on to the next one. Okay, very interesting results here. Okay, so quite a mixed bag here, which is, I'm glad to see that everyone has a different viewpoint to this. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so one more, and then we will actually see this workflow in action. Okay, so the next question then. Right, I'll go a second. Okay, I will just leave that poll until after I've shown you the workflow. Okay, right, so we'll go back to the presentation. So I hope you guys enjoy today's session. I hope you all have something to take away. You've all got different areas which you're finding challenging. So hopefully you'll all have something to take away from this, a couple of gems. So time now to get started. So if we look at the BIM workflows in general, today's example I'll be using is a steel model. Towards the end, I will the shift will go towards concrete. So for steel, we have several different workflows, okay, and that's using our flagship simulated product, which is Advanced Design. You can use that together with Advanced Steel and our Power Pack for Advanced Steel as well. And you can also add to that mix Revit as well. So workflow one is the workflow between Advanced Steel. So some of you perhaps might come from a fabrication background or detailing, draftsmen, who tend to use Advanced Steel for some of their projects. So we have that workflow between Advanced Steel and Advanced Design. But today the focus is primarily on the second workflow here, which is workflow 2. And this is somewhat a triangulated workflow between Revit, Advanced Design, Advanced Steel. From this workflow, I've taken Advanced Design and Revit just to expand on this in detail. In future, we'll also have some other webinars planned where we can see perhaps a triangulated workflow and also maybe with something with Advanced Steel as well. So today we're looking at the workflow between Advanced Design and Revit. Right, so just a quick overview about the workflow between Advanced Steel and Advanced Design. So it's very similar to the Revit workflow as well, in that we use a common file extension, which is GTCX. We have previously used an SMLX, but that is slowly being replaced by the go-to choice, which is GTCX. So this is a common file extension, which you would use to update the models and make any changes. So now let's go into the detail for this workflow with Revit then. Okay, so here is a simple structure that I've got. So the first step is, for example, if you start with Revit, you have a Revit model, BIM model, you then want to take that through to analysis and structural design. You then export that using a GTCX file, and that simply allows you to turn that model into a structural model. You can then also bring that then back, after having done the FEM analysis, you can bring that back into Revit with all your FEM results in there. Okay, so you can see just how that works. And the beauty of this process is that no matter where you start, whether you start in Advanced Design or Revit, you can still have that interoperability between both applications. Okay, so that's definitely a benefit to be had there. So now let's see this workflow in action. Okay, so first up, you want to be easily able to export, so easily export everything. So here is the structure that I have. I have a simple portal frame structure here, which I've started in Revit. So it's similar to the structure which I showed yesterday. Okay, and you can see it consists of a number of different types of elements. So I have columns, purlins, series of bracing as well. So I'm going to first of all look at exporting this to Advanced Design, and then making some changes to the model in the sense of adding new elements, so adding a new purlin over the center here, and then bracing on the end base that we'll add here, and then I'll also look at some changes from section sizes. Okay, so let's have a look at that all-important Power Pack then. So with the Power Pack, you also get the option to look at the structural analysis tools. Okay, so that's where you can verify any errors around the model. So if I look around here, you can use the analytical tools to first of all find those errors where they are. They could be anything from such as nodes not connecting, elements which need to be trimmed or extended. Sometimes we have elements which are not quite in plane. We could have some bracing, but slightly sometimes bracing can be offset. In that sense, with the Power Pack here, you can use the structural analytical tools here that we have to detect those errors firstly, and then use a series of tools here to make sure that we can iron out those errors. I'll just show you what these look like. So we have a couple of errors there. If you have any errors, they could be in the form of having to reset the analytical model, trimming or extending members, being able to stretch to certain nodes, and it also allows you to toggle between analytical models. Okay, so there's a wealth of tools there for you to bring that model up to scratch. It's very important that our model is firstly geometrically sound before we proceed to the next step. You can also, with this, set any allow your own tolerances, any distances between the nodes to pick up those errors. So we have that flexibility there. So in this case, for example, I can set it 20. In this case, this model is pretty much accurate because it hasn't picked up any errors. So I'll show you another example later with another model of that in action. Okay, in this sense, we can, with the BIM Connect and the Power Pack, we can either export, import, and also synchronize. Okay, we have a variety of settings there. Alternatively, we can make that even quicker by automatically launching this the project with Advanced Design. So just within one click, I can take this project from Revit into Advanced Design, ready to adapt it structurally. And you can see that within just a few moments. You can generate a report if you want here, so you can keep track of exactly what you have exported, so the number of exports, elements you've exported. So I've got beams and columns there. Now let's let this export to Advanced Design, where we will then look to make some changes, where I'll add an additional beam over the ridge, okay, and then add some bracing in, and then also change some of the column sizes. Okay, so this is automatically opening with Advanced Design now. So the import is successful. You're always kept up to date. You can see exactly what's happening at each step. So that's successful. Now let's take a look at what this looks like. So that's our structure. It's pretty much as we expect it. In fact, all of it's there. We have all the elements. Now, if I quickly show you the BIM, the tools that we have here. So the tools they are exactly the same on the advanced design side. As you can see, import, export, and synchronize. So it's very simple for you to, use this the powerful tool on either the Power Pack for Revit or directly in advanced design. So it's the same on both sides. Okay, and as I explained earlier, with the utilities, if there are any errors in the model, you can run the same check control in advanced design as well. There, that lets you first of all check those errors, and you can see we have a number of tools then to rectify those. So trimming, extending, projection on plane, even stretching to nodes. Okay, so this model, it is geometrically perfect. So time now just to make some changes. Okay, so that's that example there. Now I want to be able to make those changes and then simply synchronize it. Oh yes, it should be simple synchronization there, what we're looking at here. So now just make changes to this model. We have a series of levels which have been exported from Revit. So if you have any levels which are set up in Revit, they will be exported in the form of subsystems here. So we have some levels there. Level 4 didn't have anything in there, so I've deleted that. It automatically asks you to delete any empty levels. Okay, right. So what should we start off with? Let's start off with this purlin then. We need to add a purlin over the ridge here to complete this. So I'll just pick up these and simply transfer these across. There we go, 1, 2, 3, and we're there. So we've got the central purlin there. And the other thing we want to do is add a set of bracing to the end bays here. So again, very simple, just within a few clicks, select my brace and pop it in the end bay there. So that's some changes there. So what I'm trying to get at here is making a variety of changes in the form of modifications or deleting elements and adding additional elements in. So I'll delete the bracing at the back here. So we have some removed elements. And the final change we'll look to make is to change the sizes of the columns. So we'll just pick the columns up. So I'm selecting the columns here. There are several ways to select elements in advanced design. We're really making it easy for you guys here. So at the moment, there are 203, 203, 52 UC sections. Okay, so I've just filtered that out, see a bit better. Now let's push these up a size, maybe a couple of sizes. So go into the library, and maybe I'm feeling like increasing the size. I might need to increase the size, section size. So should we increase or decrease? So I'll choose the 46 UC. Seeing that that's my favorite section size, the 203 46 UC. In case you're wondering why I've chosen that, I generally like this section size. It does. It's a good all-round section size. So we've got all our sections there now. You can see that they've all changed. Okay. That's been applied. Let's also look at rotating these. So I'm making several changes here, not only in the section size, I'm rotating these around as well. Rotating these by 90 degrees. See that. 0 returns it where it was. And 90, let's stick with 90. Okay, so we have something different there. So they've been rotated, and section size has been changed from a 52 to a 46 weight here. Now let's look at exporting this back. So I'm going to export this to a GTCX file, as I mentioned earlier. And then you'll see when I export this, it's just a simple case of easily synchronizing on the Revit side. So here we can see what it's doing step by step. Okay, so that's successful. GTC successful, file successful. Time now to head over to Revit. So over then to Revit, and now it's just a simple case of shining that mirror between both applications. So if you imagine yourself looking in the mirror, we just want that reflection to be the same on both sides. So that's really as simple as it is. In simple terms, it's just making sure that the reflection is the same on both sides. So I'll just open the GTCX file. And when I open it, you'll see with the legend, what it does, it breaks down the changes in terms of the type of change. So we have here, you can see the changes in the legend. We have 10 new objects, namely those purlins and the bracing. Modified, I've changed the columns there with some properties on the angle. Deleted, we deleted the bracing at the back, and then unchanged. So with this, the beauty is that I get to choose. We can very simply break this synchronization down into a series of steps. Okay, so first of all, we can narrow the status down to just new items, and just do this in 3 simple steps: new, modified, and deleted. If you wanted, for instance, you don't have to synchronize the whole mod all in one go. That's the beauty of this. If I look at the parameters, we can see exactly what has changed here. So if we look at the host application value, which is Revit, there's nothing there. And these are the new purlins added over the ridge. GTC file value, which is Advanced Design, is saying that there's a section there. So first of all, you get to keep track of the changes. You can easily see them. You can simply apply them. And most of all, it's a very quick process, as you'll see. So we can choose to keep, accept, or ignore. So go to accept these changes with the new elements. So we're expecting to see those purlins and the bracing there. I'll just resize this window so you can all keep an eye on the model as well in real time, so we can see those magically appear. Structural magic, this is, guys. This is structural magic happening. Right, so if I apply this, apply the changes. Yes, I definitely want to apply the changes. Okay. And then you can also print a synchronization report, which can be used to keep track of any changes at each stage along the way. So if you've made any changes and you've then sort of forgotten what the changes were between synchronization, you can refer back to that report. Okay, so let's just let this work its magic. Okay, so let's take a look. Right, so now the legend has been updated. So there are objects now which are new. We've now got our purlin there with the center, and then the additional bracing at the end. Hooray! There we go. So we have our new items. Now let's go on to some of the other changes. So that's the bracing at the back will be removed, and the column sizes and angles we're looking to change. So with the status, let's look at these bracing. So deleting the bracing at the back. Okay, so we have 4 members there, we can see. We'll just pop into those if you want to see the details, but I'll just accept these changes. So we can accept the changes. So you have full control over this process. In this case, I can print a report as well for this one. So at the moment, I'm just synchronizing the geometry. We can also, with some of the concrete structures as well, for example, you can export theoretical reinforcement from Advanced Design, which I'll look at a bit later. You can maybe have given away the bonus tip here, but I pretend I didn't give anything away there. So you've got FEM results there as well. If you have any FEM results, so these are the forces that you've calculated from the FEM analysis. That's also something which you can export back into Revit. Right. So deleted is now saying 0 objects. We can see the bracing's been deleted at the back. Modified, if we move into modified, there's quite a few elements here. I can narrow this down again into just columns. Okay, so we have also got beams in there because the mapping at the beginning, I didn't quite map those in the same way. So if you look at this now, the detail, what's changed. So it's going from a 52 UC down to a 46 UC. Okay, very simple there. So quite a few columns there. Now let's apply this. So you can see if we look at this one, for example, the geometry and type has changed. So if I go into the details, so the geometry, we look at the geometry here, it's changed the angle. If you remember, rotated it, and then the type has changed as well. Okay, so you can see that one. You can see the difference there in the Z values, in the type. Okay. That's 22.0. So this is not a case of manually spotting the difference. So having to manually check the models if they match up. Sometimes it can be. I've seen people where they've had to check the models manually in terms of the changes that have been made. Just check them in Revit, see if it's matching up just by eye. It's you're saving an incredible amount of time with this thing here. Very powerful synchronization that we have. Just accept these changes, and then looking at applying these. And then we'll take a look at the columns. Okay, so here we get a chance again for the mapping. So in this case, this section there, I'll just make sure that I have the right family label there. So this is all part of the process where if you have any section size, I know some people we don't like to have, you naturally wouldn't have every single type of section loaded into Revit. It will be more as and when you require it sort of thing. So in this case, I would just add this to the library. I'll open the library and then pick our 46. It automatically detects the section there for you. So 46 and 52. Okay. Again, this is all part of the Power Pack, the Advanced Power Pack. Okay, and then click OK. Okay, so by now it looks like it's made those changes. Okay, and I'll just double check in here. So it looks like our structure has now got all the additional elements in there. The purlin, the bracing removed at the back there, as you can see. Let's take a look through this. Okay, and the columns look to be rotated as well. Okay, so I've rotated the columns there. What else do we have in here? So modified, still quite a few attributes here. Notice how I haven't accepted all of the changes in one go. Okay, so I've done them step by step. Should be a very simple process. And I'll just accept these. So I hadn't accepted columns, all of them. So I've only done the ones at the front there. So I did them in two steps here, the columns at the front and the ones at the back, which is why they were at different angles previously. So if you look closely there, it's a bit small. The ones at the front are rotated, the ones at the back I'm yet to rotate. Okay, so We've changed around. Okay, so we have got an idea how the synchronization works there. Right, okay. Now you want to be able to rapidly remove the errors. So yes, so you want to be able to remove them quickly. First of all, pick them up quickly and then remove them instantly. You don't want to spend obscene amount of time just on, first of all, trying to pick that needle in the haystack and then, manually correct any of those errors. So thankfully, with our check control tools here, you can easily pick those errors up. I'm just going to switch to a different model now, where in this model will have a series of errors in there. This model will be using an SMLX file this time. If you noticed earlier, I mentioned there's a GTCX and SMLX file. So this is a model which I've taken from Advanced Steel. So Advanced Steel also uses GTCX. So I have here which is something which I need to map. I'll just map that to an S235 section. And then assign that. Let's let that quickly load. And then we'll take a look at just how bad this model is. So the model previously was perfect. Of course, we all want to have perfect models, but it's not something that we have all the time. Models aren't always perfect. So I'll just assign a section for this one as well. Right, by now we've got our model. So let's take a look around this model then. So this one is almost a steel platform, in a factory environment. Okay, so at the moment, if I'm looking at it in 3D view, I can't tell. It looks, it looks geometrically perfect. It looks like everything's where it should be and connecting how it should. But if I did not have these tools to find those errors, I would only pick these up when the model fails to run. Okay, so we don't want that to happen. You would not know until you hit the analysis button, for example, you come to analyze the structure, that there's something wrong with it. By then, you've too far gone into the project, you have to go back and rectify it. Well, this is a very, shall I say, easy and important step which you can include into your workflow to make sure that you're preventing these errors from the onset, rather than reacting to them. Okay, so as engineers, we like to be proactive. So this is allowing you to be proactive in picking up these errors rather than reacting to any instabilities in the analysis. So here we have a variety of errors. So the first ones you saw where you saw the beams weren't quite connecting into the primary beam. Here we have some bracing, which needs to be defined on the plane there. You can see it's not quite connected on the side there for all three of those levels. And then in the middle, we have sort of quagmire nodes, which are not quite connected. So nodes are all over the place. So we have bad connections that is detected there between all the elements. So thank you, Advanced Design, for picking those up for me. What are you going to do for me next then to sort these out? So the check control command. First of all, I've checked it. Let me just measure this distance. So you can see it's obviously not perfect, but just by eye, you would not have picked that up unless you zoomed in really close and look at every single one. Obviously, the person only has so much time in the project to do that. So if I first of all go over, if I've measured it, I can go into the settings where it allows me to define a tolerance. So at the moment it's set to 0.04. I can reduce this. For example, if I want to do 0.01, I can also do that. So I get to choose that tolerance. So anything which is sort of outside that tolerance, it will pick that up as an error. Okay, so now there we go. So I've just adjusted that. Right, so there, if you look at the messages there, it's smaller than the tolerance. So 0.03 smaller than 1.44. I'll just make sure that these are simply picked up first of all. Now you must be thinking here, is he going to manage, traditionally you'd have to manually snap to those points. But thanks to our tools here, we can auto trim and extend. There we go. In a few clicks, it has extended all of those beams to make sure they intersect. So if I run the control now, no errors. Okay, so that's completely fine on that side there. And notice how for the errors, they're not picked up. That's because I changed the tolerance, if you remember. So now, as an example, if I make this a little bit different, so if I make it even finer, you can see just how fine I'm going now. Now we pick up even more errors in the model. Okay? So you get to choose what the tolerances are. So here, now let's have a look at the bracing on the side here. So the bracing looks to be somewhat floating to the right there, not quite connected. I'm pretty sure that wouldn't, in a real world scenario, that would it wouldn't serve much purpose having bracing there, which is not connected into the side. Well, there's no point in having it there if it's not connected. So let's make sure now that we simply align the bracing there. Okay, so that's the case for all three of those there. We can see, let's take a bit of a look there so you can see that better in case you missed it. There we go. So it should be, we need to push it a bit more to the left. Okay. Right, so I'll pick this bracing up. And then we want this to be snapped to that middle node there. Okay, let's start with the one at the bottom, that makes sense first. We can also select all of them at once if you wanted, or one by one. Right, so now I'm going to project this, or you can, for example, auto trim and extend. In this case, it wouldn't work because there aren't any elements in the plane. This is a prime example. With the tools, if you're not quite sure what's wrong with this, if I'm not sure that I need to use the plane command, you can use trim and extend. If that doesn't work, that signals then that the issue is something else. So if I go to projection of plane, then it will simply ask me which plane it is that I need to define. Yeah. Okay, and I'll select that, and there we go. Within a few clicks there, I have moved that the bracing into the place where it should be, so that it's actually acting as it should. The top one there, I haven't quite done that one yet. So let's just do that one in case any of you missed it. So just very simply project that on the plane. As simple as that. There we go. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Right. The final type of mistake I'd like to show you is this one in the center. So you can see all of those have disappeared now because I've corrected. Zooming into this one then. So over here in the middle, we have several members which are not connected to any common node. So they don't know which is the intersection point here, to be honest. So I zoom in. This happens more often than you think on many structures. Okay, so it's almost as if sometimes in modeling, some of the models have a mind of their own. You think they've been modeled perfectly by, say a detailer or an architect or another engineer. You won't notice it until you actually pay very close attention to the errors. Okay, so we are simply use the stretch to no command. If I use check control, there we go. Perfect there now. No issues whatsoever with that. They are the analytical tools that we have there. So as I said earlier, it's something similar on the other side as well. If I check control overall, that looks completely fine. Okay, so I've got a few errors there. I think I haven't done that one. If I go back, just do that one again. So I went too quickly last time. I think some of you might have missed that. So stretch those nodes to that one. We want that to go to the middle. We are very simple. Okay, that's all it should be. Right, so now the bonus you guys have all been waiting for is exporting results to Revit. So it's very important that you've done your structural design, you've got your FEM results, or you've got your theoretical reinforcement. Rather than having to manually apply that, we can send that back to our original model. So basically, if you think about it, we've just used one model from the start, one central model to achieve several steps in this process. So now we're going to export the results to Revit. So for this example, I'll show you a concrete structure which I have here. So I've got a multi-story concrete structure here. Okay, here which we've got some FEM results for this, and I'm going to export theoretical reinforcement. Got the option ticked, along with some load cases as well. Okay, so we have a series of options here. You get to choose what to export. You can export a meshed model as well. That's another option. I'll just call this some changes, so that when I go to the model in Revit, then I know which one to pick. So let's let that export, and then I'll just take a look at the command line to see what it has exported. Okay, so that's been successful. Right, now let's head over to Revit. So here's the structure in Revit. If I synchronize with this, you'll see the changes that have been made to this model. So this model, I've made some changes to the geometry as well. But the main point I'm trying to make here is to do with the results. So previously, we were just dealing with the geometry. So I haven't made any changes to that steel model that we're looking at. For this one, I've got a set of FEM results and reinforcement. So if we just let this load, okay, there we go. So if you look closely here, FEM results and reinforcement are now available. Okay, so that's a very nice milestone to have achieved there in this process, having those results and being able to bring those back. Right, so I have some other changes as well. Not quite interested in those in this stage. So probably some supports there which are new. Okay, I've played around with this model. No matter how much you play around with it, or how many changes you make, you can synchronize all of these and see exactly what it is. So if I look at the details here of the synchronization, I also get to control what sort of information comes back from the structural analysis software. So, from what I get to control what come back from advanced design here. I've chosen to import FEM results, resultant forces for any walls, internal forces. So all of that's coming back. And then all importantly, if you notice at the bottom there, there's an option to import the required area of steel, okay, for planar elements. So that does that for slabs and your walls, shear walls. For this example, I'll show you the FEM results for a beam. Okay, so I'll just shortly select the beam. I'll just accept some of these changes since I'm here, just to make sure all the beams are then up to date. And then I'll take a look at looking at the results on a beam, and then generating the reinforcement on that. We're doing all of this, by the way, using the original model from Revit, as you can see, and into advanced design, we applied our loads, analyzed that model, and then we were able then to bring that back to allow, maybe it might be yourself, it might be a detailer or another technician, to then design that using, place that rebar using the FEM results that you have managed to obtain from your analysis. Okay, so I think it's skipped back there. Right, So if I look at the Power Pack there, so with the Power Pack, we have Power Pack design and detailing tools. So you can see you're taking it to the next level here, guys. This is the icing on the cake that we have. So we have the Power Pack we looked at earlier for importing and exporting. We've also got the addition of, you've got extra extensions with the Power Pack detailing and Power Pack design, which allows you to take your initial structural model to the next level and just design and detail the reinforcement cages that we have for our concrete elements here. So design status, then if we take a look at this, we can pick some elements, for example. Let's pick the beam or the column. Okay, so we have the column selected. You can view the forces on these elements as well. So this is the beauty here. I don't have to rely on the structural engineer, for example, I don't have to pick up the phone and say, can you go into the model and just let me know what moments are in there or what forces you have. With this, I have instant access. We can open those results. Okay, so I'll open the results there. And then same for the other elements. So I've selected two elements here. Status, it says not calculated, so I can calculate that again in Revit. Okay, so it will display the reinforcement results there as well. Okay, there we are. So here's the change settings of the reinforcement. So in you get to play with the reinforcement and the main reinforcement, so longitudinal transverse, using the FEM, the results and forces from advanced design. And then we can run a calculation. Believe it or not, we are running calculations here, guys. So very clever stuff. So let's run the calculation for both of these elements. We have a column and a beam, and let it generate the reinforcement. See what that looks like. Okay, so that's been calculated. Okay. Yeah, we have a report. We could generate a report. Have a look at the results. Even look at this. So we have reinforcement there. The results of work ratios. A report there. So that really is bringing FEM and Revit together. With advanced design and the Power Pack, you are getting that complete workflow. Diagrams as well. We want to be able to see the forces on there, for example. So if I look at, you can, with say one of the elements, if you click on the diagrams, you can see what the moments look like, the moment distribution on there, perhaps, or certain axial forces in the column. So you have all of it there to hand. Okay. Quick and easy to access. So you can have a look at the interaction curves, diagrams with the results in there. There we are. We have interaction curves here in Revit. Amazing. So this is truly remarkable what we have here. Who would have thought? So we've gone from a simple just application for modeling to actually using structural tools in this. So here I'm looking at some moments on the column. We have some shear forces as well. Some reinforcement settings. Okay, so I can modify and place the reinforcement in this column here with the design, Power Pack design. Okay, and we can do the same thing for the beam. I'll just see if we can show the reinforcement on there so you can see exactly what that looks like. We want to be able to see the 3D reinforcement cage there, or the arrangement. So I'll just move out of the way. And there we have it. We have, this really is the bonus here that we're getting from this. We have the reinforcement there on that beam. We've generated that, and then we can simply output our reports and drawings from that as well. Fantastic. Okay, so before we go on to any questions, I would just like to finish off with just two final questions for you guys. I'm just going to launch a poll now, just to gather some thoughts. Okay, so this one here is, based on what you've seen today, do you feel confident that you can tackle the challenges. So at the beginning, if you remember, I asked some questions about the challenges you're facing. Okay, just want to know if you feel confident now that you can tackle those challenges. Some of you probably feel that you are comfortable. You might still be unsure. You may need further information. It's very interesting to know what it looks like for you guys. Interesting, yes, interesting indeed. We are definitely a diverse bunch here today. Okay, it's leveling out now. This is almost like watching a match here. So watching a football match here. Goals being scored on each side. Oh yes, okay. So it definitely shows we have many different people in the right place at the right time here today to take advantage of this, knowing this workflow. Some of you might not even know that existed. So you have that opportunity to see what this is. So I'll just let that run for a few more seconds. That's almost everyone. So 5 more seconds then, and I'll move on to the next one. Okay, right. Next one then, so the final one. So finally, can we help you streamline your structural design workflows? That could be us delivering a personalized demonstration or perhaps some training around the workflow in the other areas. We would like to help you streamline that structural design workflow. So for those of you who are unsure, we want to make sure that you are streamlining that workflow and making it as efficient as possible. So if you could please let me know your thoughts on that. Okay, so let me know if we can help you with your structural design workflows so that you're getting those projects out quicker out the door, achieving what you need to do, and being the most productive as you can as an engineer or whichever role you may have. Okay, so this is, I'll just leave this on the screen for a while. Okay, interesting. Okay, it's just about halfway. We'll let everybody put their pen to paper here. Okay, so just while I'm waiting for this, if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop me an email. So I'll just add my email address once again in the chat pane this time for those of you who might have missed it. Okay, at greytech.com. So for those of you who've answered that you could do with some help there, feel free to also send me an email, okay, so I can know how I can help you guys achieve that optimum workflow, get your projects out the door quicker, make sure you're the most productive you've ever been, okay? So send me an email. I'll just allow a couple of more minutes. If anybody has any questions in general, please feel free to drop these in the questions box or in the chat pane. Okay, so just a couple of minutes if you have any questions, put them in the chat box or the question pane, and I will pick these up before I close the session. So for those of you who haven't voted for this poll, please make sure to get your answer in as soon as possible, because I will be looking to close that very shortly. So we're almost there, just after some responses for some of you. Thank you. Okay, so closing the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'll just close that poll. Okay, so quick look at the questions. Okay, so it looks like we don't have many questions at this time. But once again, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a line to my email address at jamil.dida@greytech.com. And also make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, so once again, thank you for everyone who's attended today's webinar. And most importantly, I hope you guys have had something to take away from this for your structural design workflows. And it doesn't end here, okay? We're constantly uploading content to our social media platforms. So please make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, where you'll find a wealth of information related to tips and tricks, news, all the latest news, offers. We regularly run events as well. So make sure you're part of those groups. Okay, so thank you once again. And it's bye from me for now. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.